G'day guys, thanks for dropping in. Today we're looking at the Canon RF 85mm f2 IS STM macro. Now this is an entry-level lens for the Canon full-frame R series of cameras. Unfortunately, it will not work on Canon's older DSLR series systems with the EF mount, and it won't work on the M series camera with the M mount either. This lens is only for Canon's full-frame R series of cameras. Okay, I picked this lens up recently because I do have the RF 35mm and the RF 50mm, both entry-level as well, and so I wanted to complete the trifecta, so to speak. A couple of the things that really appealed to me about this lens is that it has the macro function and also has the image stabilizer. So for those 2 points alone, I thought, gee, that's quite a lot of added value. And for a lens like this coming in at about $700 US, it's not necessarily cheap. I did mention it's entry level, it's cheaper, but it's still quite a lot of cash. So it is good to get some extra features out of it when you're splashing that sort of cash. To the lens itself, look, it's a plastic lens. It's made out of engineering plastic, but it does have some metal components such as the mount, and also the control ring appears to be metal. It's a really nice tight lens and it has a good heft to it. It's a little bit wobbly, that being said, but I think that's because of the image stabilizer in it. Now the focus limiter is great because it either allows you to stay in the reach mode or allows you to stay in the macro mode or work between them. But the thing about it is it can also be really annoying as well, because if you don't remember what setting you've got it set on, you can battle quite a while trying to pull focus before you realize, oh my gosh, the focus limiter. So for me, I just have it set on full. But even though it is set on full, this lens will not operate throughout the full range of the lens from the far reach to the tight macro. And the reason for that is, I don't know, but it just doesn't. Here, let me explain. When you're using this lens and you want to transition from the reach mode, I guess, to the macro mode, you can do so with autofocus, but it takes a heck of a long time to drive the lens barrel out to get into that range where it can actually focus in the macro area. And so the autofocus mode does have a little bit of a time with that. But one thing to note that is if you do manage to get it out with the autofocus, you won't be able to get it back in. If you know of anybody that's been able to retract the 85mm lens barrel using the autofocus mode, I would be keen to hear about it. And if you ever give it a go to and it works for you, let me know, because that might let me know there's something wrong with this lens. But I have seen online it does get a bad rap about that. Look, for me, that's easy to deal with. You just need to simply think of this as two lenses. You're either going to use it in the standard traditional 85 mode, or you're going to be using it in the macro mode. You can't jump between them at a whim, so it actually takes a conscious and active decision to put it into macro mode. What I do is I tend to switch it into manual mode and then manually wind out the lens barrel, and believe me, it takes forever. It is a real pain, but it does work and you can get this shot. So that is the point here. That is the point here. Remember, this is an entry-level lens. I didn't say cheap, entry-level. So we can't expect to have everything built into it. Did I even say that? Maybe we can expect that, but in this case, we don't get it, okay? So all I'd say to you is just think of it as two separate lenses. It's either an 85 standard or it's a macro, and you have to make a conscious and deliberate choice to work between the two. Look, the same applies in stills mode. It's just really hard to retract that barrel using the autofocus motor. You generally either have to turn it into manual focus and wind it back, or one thing I do is I just quickly flick the camera off, the lens resets and retracts, and then you can switch the camera back on and you're back in the standard 85mm reach mode. The lens straight out of the box takes incredible photographs. I was really amazed. I never had a lens that produces this much color, and also the detail, particularly in portraits and close-up shots, is quite amazing. But one thing I did notice is that it had a real green shift to the color, and I actually had to dive into my white balance settings on my camera and just color shift it more into the magenta and into the red, just to warm it up a bit and take a lot of that green tinge out of it. Now, I'm not sure if that's a fault with this lens, but I have looked on other videos online and I see that some people get a magenta shift in their particular copy. Now, I can see magenta in this as well, but primarily the color shift appeared to be green. It's really easy. You jump into your white balance settings and just shift it down into the magenta or into the red. But of course, this will vary from situation to situation. Okay, guys, I'm not going to waste too much more of your time. That was the RF 85mm f2. Look, it's a fantastic lens because you can buy it for like quarter of the price of, say, the 1.2 variant, and you can still get some great subject separation and background blur, and also use it in really low light situations having that f2 aperture. The fact that they bundle IS into this lens is awesome because it gives video makers the opportunity to use this as well, and it's also great for handheld photography, and particularly in situations where you want to stop down or slow your shutter speed. Putting macro in this lens is awesome. Now, it's not true macro 1:1, I think it's 1:2, but all the same, you can get some really close-up shots. It makes it a really versatile style lens. If you're, say, an event photographer or a wedding photographer, or you're in situations where all of a sudden you need to get some close-up shots, you've got the tool with you at the time. There's no need to switch out to another lens. It's right here. I do like the heft and the build of it. It feels like a good solid lens, but look, I really believe that Canon should have put weather sealing on all their entry-level lenses as well. I do not believe that weather sealing should be the unique differentiation between an entry-level lens and like the L series lenses that we pay 5 times as much. I just think one rubber gasket would make it a lot more valuable to us and also give us a lot more reassurance and reliability to use this in the field, particularly when it's a little bit wet or maybe slightly inclement weather. Certainly not in the rain. Don't do it. Keep it out of the rain. Okay guys, so that was a look at the RF 85mm f2 IS STM macro. It comes highly recommended for me. Not that that's necessarily saying a lot coming from me, but look, I do use cameras a lot and I take a lot of photos, and I've been really amped to get the 85mm for ages. Pleased me straight out of the box. The fact with the lens barrel not retracting under autofocus mode is no big deal because I know the workaround, and I've also made the mental shift to think that I'm working with 2 lenses here, not the one lens to cover the entire range. Hey, if you have any other questions, do let me know. I'd be keen to hear from you. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. You can check out any other videos I've made right here. Otherwise, have an awesome week and we'll catch you next time. Bye.